Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 25. Today will be about expanding the new farm area. I mentioned at the end of the last outing that I still need to add a couple things to it. A firehouse, a second distribution house, etc. At the time I was even considering building a second parking lot for farming machinery, and that is exactly what I'll do. That of course means we can double the number of fields. I won't place 18 more though. For starters, I decided to give each of them 15 fields to deal with, and see where that gets us. And I am happy to say that I didn't have a single crash while recording this time. Messing around with the rail junctions was very likely the culprit of my woes in episode 24. Also, I think I made an executive decision. I will allow myself to quick build very small sections of rail tracks that only help the track layer get around. It won't be relevant in this episode, but for what I'm planning for next time, that will make it necessary. Again, I won't be building rail tracks today, but I hope to do so in episode 26. Okay, let's see what's going on. Since I did notice that I failed to reconnect the rail power transformer the last time, that's the first thing we need to take care of. To prepare the farm's power supply, I'll start building the necessary switch. For now, I'll leech off of a rail power cable, but I do want to rearrange the power poles around here. While preparing for the refinery, I was a bit too cautious with the amount of spacing I gave them. Next, I need to make sure that the farm warehouse has a clear way out of the area. That means one field and the currently only agro-farm parking need to be moved. This plot next to the food factory is perfect for the fire station. We also need a bus stop, and for that I think I'll move these roads a bit, so they are less chaotic. With this placement, all the buildings that need workers will be in reach. Now, the second farm parking lot. This place would have been perfect, but the construction offices are too far away, even the town one with the buses, so we cannot change the terrain. But putting it behind this field should work okay. It will shrink its effective farmable area, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Now, that rail connection that made all this rearrangement necessary. This would have been perfectly acceptable. We'll most likely only ever use shorter trains on this branch, so me wanting to use the usual 150 meters long parking isn't necessary. I'll give up on it eventually. The problem here is that the game needs a certain minimum distance for level crossings to be buildable, and without curving the track a certain amount, it's too short. It needs to turn a bit more upwards. My perfectionism is really making my life harder than it needs to be. Now is the time to deal with the power. That's a convenient little hole to place the substation. Okay. Now we can place the second distribution office. Now the fields. I'd prefer to redo the whole arrangement, so that's what I'll do. The end result will be similar, but when I need to rearrange something, I prefer to do it from scratch. Whoa, that exposed rock completely messed up this field. We need to rotate it around. That should be 15 fields on each side. Messing around with farm fields seemed to be a recipe for disaster when it comes to maintaining the packed dirt around infrastructure. Thankfully, it's an easy fix with the terrain textures. Whoa, that's a lot of children waiting for education. Time for another school. There also seemed to be a bit of a queue in front of the sports facilities, so maybe a second gymnasium is in order. Of course, when I see small things like open-ended asphalt connections, or these stairs that lead to nowhere, I got to fix them, even if only cosmetically. This area between the housing blocks is a bit tricky. We had lots of space in the V-shaped complex, but here, I think a couple poplar trees will do the trick. Whoa, that's a lot of grass sticking out. Okay. Time to make that temporary dirt road a bit more permanent. I was planning on having a road run parallel with the rail main line, so might as well do it now. I was trying to decide how to go over the rails to connect up with the roads on the other side. Guess what method I will go with? To nobody's surprise, all the bulldozers and excavators are busy working on the farm construction. But I think I have a solution. The seal with the dumpers have 4 empty slots available. If I keep the deliver mechanisms with trucks option enabled, but never provide an open hull truck for them, they will be perpetually stuck there, never leaving their station, and providing a 24/7 access to terrain manipulation. Plus the office has an internal fuel storage, so there won't be a problem as long as it has power. Before I go too crazy with raising the terrain, let's add spacers for the rails. I don't want dirt to clip through them. As usual, to ensure that both sides are the same exact height, I first raise one side, then switch to the middle level tool, labeled, height from center. Then I start leveling from the side that is already raised, quickly whip the cursor over to the other side while keep holding down the left mouse button, and that will raise the ground to the same level as I started with. And now comes the arduous task of selecting the bridge I want to use. We already have a couple bridges with trusses on top. While visually more interesting, I think it's time for a simpler kind of overpass. This one hangs a bit too low, so it's not going to fit. The viaduct with the arch support would have been great, but the pillars cannot fit around the rails below. Such a shame. The brick bridge only allows 70 kilometers per hour, so that's a no-go. I think this simple concrete one will be the final choice. As usual, I use the ruler to make sure the terrain is as level as possible around the endpoints, so we don't end up with those ugly bumps as they connect up with the normal roads. And that one was already perfectly acceptable. Still, smoothing it out a tiny bit won't hurt anyone. Okay, let's connect it to the rest of the network, so we can start building it. We cannot delete even a little piece at the end, as long as there are trucks running on that segment. But dividing it in two will allow us to do it. Just to keep things going, I'll still maintain this service connection, until either the farm or the new asphalt road gets built. And the spacer tracks can be removed. They successfully kept the main line free of dirt. Let's finish things off with the usual smoothing, and the only things left is the wait for it to be built. And the money just keeps going up and up. I think selling all that steel set us up for the rest of the series. Now that the farm bus stop is done, we can start moving people over. The firehouse is also built, so having some fire coverage over there will definitely help keep out investments safe. Now that we have buildings here that accept fuel, we can tell the fuel deos to start moving it over. We still need to wait for the local substation to be finished, and they won't lift a finger until everything's powered, but having things prepared beforehand is never a bad idea. The town is still doing okay with power. I decided to just use the overlay to diagnose issues, instead of worry about the potential load on individual substations. Now, this is something that eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed in the last episode. When I was assigning the fuel deliveries, there were power issues with the factories around the power plant. I have no idea why it's happening. Domestic power should have a priority over selling our excess at the border. Disabling exports did fix it, and now everything has a stable supply of electricity. Weird. As for the rail network, we seem to have about one line completely saturated, and one at about half load. To give it a bit more of a fighting chance, we can change things around a bit. Right now, the fourth medium voltage output of the power plant is entirely dedicated to powering the quarries for their fuel pumps. If we build a switch, we can tap into that line, giving the rail transformer a bit more headroom to work with. I'm getting kind of sick of those white Skoda trucks. That's the highest capacity option we had available since we started. When I buy the grain haulers, I think I'll go with something different. Anyways, let's assign the 15 fields we want this DO to service. Well, I would, but these two are not connected. And yes, I did just place an asphalt road there. Not sure if I want to get rid of it. I might keep it, since this road could become a major thoroughfare later on. Anyways, for now, I'll go with these T148s. For maximum efficiency, the Skoda trucks would have been the perfect choice, but as I said, I'm kind of sick of using them exclusively. Plus, if we ever decided to upgrade the roads around here to asphalt, they will end up outperforming them with their better speed. It's kind of hard to tell which fields are assigned already, but there is a slight blue tint to them. Anyways, we can start beautifying the area around the new houses. A couple monuments will do some good. This one is a bit weird. Do I treat the plinth as the center point, or do I take the sickle's overhang into account and use the overall center of it? Maybe I should have just rotated it 90 degrees. Anyways, that's good enough for me. I noticed that we still have the memorial monument. Since Setsumagrad is named after a pet who sadly passed away, I decided to build one there too. Despite the distances involved, constructions are progressing relatively quickly. Very good to see. If the coming winter doesn't slow us down too much, we might be able to finish everything for the coming sowing season. The northern side is guaranteed to be ready, but the southern ones is still up in the air. I just noticed that one of the farms is also done. We might as well buy the machinery now, and have them ready for spring. I also removed all the automatic field assignments. I will divide the area between the two farms manually. Anyways, 4 tractors and 8 harvesters is more than enough for the amount of fields we have. Of course, it needs gas, so let's add it to the list in one of the fuel DOs. I was really trying to fill this area with something other than a lone poplar tree. It's too small, even for the tiniest of tourist attractions. Although it gave me the idea to build some kind of cultural center. This area isn't really suitable for it though. A museum in the middle of a residential area? Doesn't feel right. That big empty space in front of the university, however, that's more like it. I'll surround it with lots of trees for now. But I might move it around a bit in the next episode. It's a bit too close to that heat exchanger and substation, that might ruin the ambience a little. The hammer and sickle monument is done. You know what's coming. Time to add some ground textures, so it looks a bit more natural. We can also get rid of that small footpath. Okay, the new power switch is done. Time to rewire a couple things. First, I'll hook it up to the power plant with the high capacity wires. Then, I need to keep the quarries powered, so one of the outlets will go south, using smaller power poles. Everything else can be hooked up to the rail power supply. The more I look at this jumble of wires, the more I want to tidy it up. That's one of the things I need to do in the next episode. There are a couple small things I want to accomplish in the next episode. Apart from rearranging the cables powering the rail network, I also plan splitting off more branches in the high voltage power lines. I want to be ready when the time comes, and the town needs more substations. We are coasting right now, and I fear we will reach that point very soon. I would also like to build a train station in the town. I already know where I want to place it, so that's not going to be hard to decide. We do, however, need to worry about how the track layer will get around. And that is where I made a decision. I mentioned before that I will allow myself to build small, temporary pieces of track that will allow it to move around more freely, and remove them when they are no longer necessary. Instead of resorting to magical cheats that send the stuck train home, I'll instead use a method that's at least rooted in reality. These pieces of track will be mostly small crossings, and as I said, they will be temporary. Apart from using them to build the town passenger station, we will also need them to connect the new farm to the rail main line. Apart from those things, I'm not sure what the next big project is going to be. I'll try to think of something. Anyways, I hope you liked the video. If you did, dropping a like and subscribing to the channel just might motivate me to make more. Until then, see you later.